Welcome to the show. It's deep with the twist. We're laughing through the scriptures where humor coexists. Cultural, come on and take a seat. It's faithful and it's fun wherever it meets feet. Dive into the stories, hear the podcast call. It's Mormon stuff with a smile in the cultural hall.
It is time for another episode of the Cultural Hall. It is an Articles of News episode. My friend Verlin, the news wizard, here to co-host the news with me. A couple of exciting things. We'll talk about this. There will be a Temple Ticker episode next week as we record this. That will be the week before General Conference of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. A shout out to Chris, who helped us get a microphone for Corey the Pharaoh. We got it sent FedEx to his apartment, and it got stolen or lost. So
no.
So there's that. I don't know. We're working on that. We all sort of anticipated that
he'll have to do what I did. I just started talking to my friends about needing a new microphone, and one of them just said, "Hey, I've got one you can borrow."
Well,
so,
sure. That's kind of
a test drive.
That's kind of how we came about what we were doing with the Pharaoh, except we got him a new one. We were like, yeah, it's great, and go. And it delivered apparently, but we don't know who received it and where it's at. And so tracking that down, FedEx should likely insure it.
Someone has a nice new microphone.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can't blame us for trying. There's that. If there seems like there's a little bit of anxiety in my voice today, running full ramp, running at 11, if people know what that is a reference to. Anxiety about not having enough time. Why are you so busy? Do you have so many things? Not particularly. I think when I have a lot of time that I have been working, I like to make sure that I just continue to amp myself up back when I don't need to be at that level. Like, oh my gosh, I've got so much that I need to be doing. So that's the intensity that you hear in my voice. I've heard some tension, some intensity over at the Youd household with the renovation. Go on.
Yeah, I would say there's a couple of things causing a little intensity. So we're now at the point where we're doing modifications in the yard, and the builder was due to send us the master plan and master schedule, and he's running a little behind. Surprise, surprise.
Did he communicate that with you, or did you have to reach out and say, where is this? And then he answered.
I'll say a combination. We reached out. He answered, I'll have it to you by the end of last week. Didn't show up. Reached out again. I'll have it to you Monday. Didn't show up. Reached out again. I'll have it to you Tuesday. Anyways, my wife spoke to him today, and he shared that he would get it to us, but he also shared the first estimate at the cost. And let's just say it is significantly higher than the expectation we thought we had set with him.
Sure.
So we're going to have the discussion now that we don't need the Taj Mahal. We probably don't even need Hearst Castle. You know, a nice medium-sized castle or a medium-sized manor home would be fine. So,
although I will say this, what you do not want to do, Verlin, is you do not want to be cheap and then have to do it again. That's an obvious thing. I feel like you get that. Yeah. But I do think that it's worth, I mean, this will sound ageist or age-shaming, but you don't want to have to deal with this again if this is where you decide to lead out the rest of your life. Like put a little extra kicker in there if you're like, listen, will 75-year-old me appreciate that I did this way now? Yeah, but you don't need, to your point,
absolutely.
You probably don't need the marble floors and the mahogany
need platinum
walls
fixtures and Madagascar mahogany. Although the new temple that's been announced in Madagascar probably has Madagascar mahogany in it.
You bet it does.
But yeah, so that's one tension. The other tension is you inspired me. You keep publishing somewhat irregularly these pictures of vehicles that you can now afford with your vehicle savings fund. And so I have decided I'm going to buy an old pickup truck. And so I've been shopping seriously, and I think I've found the one. And now we're at the point in time where I have to negotiate with the seller, who happens to live in Texas, and figure out what I need to get repaired before I fly out there and actually drive the truck back to North Carolina.
You know that's the dream, right?
Yes.
To fly to the place and then drive it back from wherever you do it. I was
hoping that I would find it in Arizona or New Mexico.
Sure.
because that would be an even longer drive,
Mhm.
which I would love. But it's in the middle of Texas.
And
So
what is it? You're getting a pick 'em up truck. What is it?
it's a 1972 Chevy Cheyenne.
Okay.
So
Those are big and blocky and
yeah,
meaty.
big and
Ooh.
blocky and meaty. They're kind of the square body type. My father had one.
Mhm.
It's a different color than the one my father had, but I'm going to repaint it anyway. And the idea is to buy one that's not completely done.
Mhm.
This has a new engine and a new transmission, but it's got some other things that need to be changed and updated. And me and my mechanic will have a little hobby that I pay for and he enjoys
Yeah.
over the next year or so as we do more work on it.
Are you handy that way?
Nope, not at all.
Are you planning on becoming handy that way?
Little pieces, not huge pieces. I'll let
Okay.
him do all the important stuff.
Hmm. Okay. Fair enough.
Yep.
That's exciting. I didn't know you were like that.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's something I've been thinking about for years, and my friends have been teasing me that I've been talking about it forever, and it was time to actually step in and do it. So
Yeah,
it's the year to do it, according to Richie Stedman. So I'm
that's
doing
right.
it.
It's the year to do it. The other half of that, the only positive thing, well, I guess there was one other thing. My kid and this piece of advice from my ex-wife was the do it or shut up about it advice. And I have appreciated that as I've been able to hearken back to it to where it's like, yeah, are you going to do it?
Well,
No,
there is
I don't
that,
think
but
I am going to do it. Okay, then
I
shut up about it.
I get a certain enjoyment about rolling it around in my mind and thinking about it and looking at all the different options. And so there's some enjoyment that's come from that. But now it's time to pull the trigger and change the topic from when I buy it to, okay, now that I bought it, what am I going to do with it?
The thing that I love about that, in addition to what you're saying, is that so say that, so let me back up a little bit. So with what I've been saving for, I want to get an old car, right? And when I had saved about nine or $10,000, I actually went and test drove an old AMC. It was three on the tree. It was the kind of car that I wanted. It was like original paint, very few miles. It was, that someone's grandma lost the keys and then just left it in the garage because they forgot where the
Hmm.
keys might have been. It was that kind of a car. And I went and test drove it, and I was like, I'm glad that I did this without just buying the car, because it was not as fun as I wanted it to be, and it has made me a lot
Ah,
more hesitant. There is something, if you are like, I have always wanted to, and buy a truck, hike the Grand
mhm.
Canyon, blah blah blah. There is something to taking a step toward it and then going, do I like this? Is this really what I want to do?
Yeah.
Because that was more clarifying than if I would have never even test drove anything and I'd still be like, oh yeah, well probably I do. Now it's very specific in my mind what I would like to get.
No, that makes sense. I test drove a similar truck years ago and
Mhm.
absolutely loved the experience,
Mm,
but it took this long to do it. The other thing I'm doing with this truck is the goal is that from the outside, looking at the truck, it should look stock like it just rolled off the factory line.
mhm,
But underneath the covers, I want all of the modern, all of the, creature comforts that I could possibly get in it, whether that's suspension and brakes and, steering and air conditioning, whatever it is. I
mhm.
wanted to have all the creature comforts because frankly, I'm a softie.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because there's a reason why they don't make them like they used to, and thank goodness they don't, right?
that's right. Yeah.
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 Although the one thing it doesn't have is drink holders. So I'm going to have to figure that out, some kind of custom solution for that.
There's lots of things you can like drape over the little arm
Yeah.
console or, over yeah, you got that. That's the
Yeah, we'll
easiest
figure it. It
thing.
just has to be able to handle a 64-ounce Bucky's drink. That's it.
Oh, bless your heart. The biggest thing that I don't think that you addressed at all, how does Susan, your wife, feel about all this? She on
She's
board?
actually been very supportive. She's on board. Yeah. Yeah,
Anything
I've
that'll
worn her
keep
down over the last 10 years talking about it. Maybe that's
yeah.
it.
Maybe she feels as my ex did, which is, will you do it or please shut up about it? Good for you. Anything that keeps you busy, right? She's like, I've
Yep.
got things. Can you buy a truck or something? I have
Yeah,
got things I need to get done.
that's right. That's right. And in the meantime, I've been putting together the whole work side of my life too. So
Yeah.
that's part of the equation as
Don't
well.
bite off, as they say, more than you can chew, Verlin.
Nope. Nope. Won't
Oth-
do.
Otherwise, you'll find yourself on your third energy drink of the day and just being able to do this a second of three episodes in the same day, and you're trying to manage a bunch of other things. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Trying to
Rub it
stick to
in that you're
sparkling water myself. That's what I'm trying to stick to.
drinking water. like a sucker. Just barely published as we chat. An episode I did with a product manager at Family Search and their Together app, talking all about what that is. If people have not checked that out, definitely check out that episode. Very good. A friend of mine from high school is actually the guy who's in charge of it. So it's some fun reminiscing mixed in with what the church is doing with Family Search stuff, and super cool.
Awesome.
It's family history for the living, and that's what I appreciate about that particular conversation. So if you've not yet checked that out or left us a review, or on Spotify, you can now leave comments on each episode. Verlin, you big idiot. Someone might never say, but they might say.
Bring it on, please. Yep. Yeah.
So that's that. I got an email. contact@theculturalhall.com is where you can always send the emails. If you remember, a little while back, we talked with Dave. I want to say it was episode like 715 or something like this. Dave was excommunicated. He was a bishop that was excommunicated, and he's been in touch with me and has recently been rebaptized.
Congratulations, Dave.
Has joined the church again, was living in Canada, and now he lives down by you in the North Carolina.
Nice. Fantastic.
So he shares this experience, and then I wanted to talk a little bit about it. Then we'll take a break and get into actual articles of news. He says, in light of your recent rebroadcast, that of course being the Meal Love episode that we shared, I thought that I would share a quick message that you might appreciate. Got myself down to North Carolina on Friday, and the missionaries asked us if we would bring one of their new friends to church. So we said yes. So already they're in town for 2 days and being put to work. That's how you do it in North Carolina.
That's right.
Hey, coming to church? Can you bring someone? We'd really appreciate that quite a bit. He said, yeah, of course. So the first time I met my new ward, I was with a black gentleman, and the first time I took the sacrament in 5 years, it was handed to me by a non-member black gentleman. My 19-year-old Deep South missionary self, I'm sorry, let me say that sentence again. My 19-year-old Deep South missionary self would have been so proud of me for that. I loved it. And then says, if anyone takes offense at any sort of racial part of this, that is not intended. But I do think that it's significant to go, man, how many years ago? And now there's this turnabout, and now I'm able to do this and be here. But here was the thing that my mind went to. And people don't know this because I don't think that I brought it up, but it's worth bringing up here. When I had Dave on the show, I received an email that said, hey, you should take that episode down. And it was from someone whom I'm assuming he was very closely connected with that was caused hurt by the things that he did that caused him to be excommunicated. And so, and in a bigger discussion, so I don't want to make this specifically about Dave, but in a bigger discussion and with some other things that I've been listening to recently, like how or do you, or what is the conversation like, someone in your ward, we'll say commits adultery, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you knew about it, and it was a disaster, and it broke the ward apart, and some people sided with him, and some people sided with her, and all those things. And then they go through the repentance process. You know them, though, and maybe you don't think much has changed or whatever the thing is, so you still hold in judgment what you feel about them. They're able to be baptized again and be able to rejoin the flock. How do you deal with it? Certainly, I think adultery is different than if they're like abuse, domestic or child abuse or sexual abuse or something like that. But I know well enough to know that the church does make mistakes, or that leadership will make mistakes, and that sometimes that power of discernment is not as discerning as we would like it to be. Mm-hmm. So how do you suppose and then as a greater conversation, like, what does it look like to be able to forgive? Do we forgive when the bishop says and we just go, hope you got it right? Or, dictates of your own conscience? How do you do it?
What a great question. And it's relevant because I've actually had similar circumstances, not me personally, but with people I know, in fact, with a very senior leader here locally many years ago. And it's hard to understand the pain that was caused by the actions of that individual,
right?
Or two individuals in this case. And I was close to the family, so I saw the pain, but still, I'm sure I don't feel the pain. And I know it was painful as this person went through the process and went through all the repentance process. but I think ultimately they decided that they needed to move physically to a new place where they weren't constantly reminding people around them of all the pain that they had caused
Sure.
and kind of give it time and space to let that heal.
But
And
that doesn't negate the pain that they caused and the hurt. Like, is that where things
yeah,
like when we talk about in the addiction recovery program or in the 12 steps or whatever, where you try and make restitution with anyone that you have hurt? Like, is that where that becomes so vital? And how would he know? I mean, he probably knows this individual, but there might have been other people that just were congregants of the ward and said, "Oh man, you were supposed to be this and you weren't."
yeah, you traumatized my family, or you traumatized my personal faith and understanding. And I guess in this case, for me, I can't recall a time where I felt like, okay, I forgive this person. But I can recall praying about it and mentioning it in my prayers and asking my Heavenly Father to help me leave that behind, because whether I did or didn't wasn't affecting him.
Hmm.
It was affecting me. And so over time that went away. Now, if the topic comes up, I still remember what happened. I still remember how I felt about it. Um, but I don't feel like I hold a grudge against that individual.
But
And I've watched the family deal with it as well, and they strike me that they've made kind of similar progress, and they were a lot closer and a lot more hurt, obviously.
But I would suspect, and it would be natural human behavior, and I don't know that we would discourage against it, that any sort of interaction with that person in and around whatever that transgression was, you'd always sort of have an extra eye open, being like, "Hey, are we still being the same person?"
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and so is that not forgiving, or is that just being aware or recognizing that, yeah, sure, everyone can change. Christ can change the hearts of people, but not everyone does change. That's been one of the hardest things within agency and just life in general, where I feel like I've given people that benefit of, yeah, people can change. You can, oh, you're not going to. That is the part that I was missing.
I think you've just touched on one of the most difficult things in this human experience.
Mm, yeah.
It's truly one of the very hard things is dealing with that.
Mm,
So yes, do you forgive? Yes. Can you seek relief through the atonement? Yes. Do you still worry about it? Does it still come to mind? Do you trust that person the same? Do you monitor differently? Of course you do. That's part of being human as well. And
hmm.
that's part of being protective of you and others
Yeah.
along the way.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the church in some cases is so sensitive about individuals who've gone through that process and being very careful about those individuals taking on, significant responsibilities afterward.
Sure.
However, I'm also a big believer in true repentance, and that if someone has truly repented, personally, I don't see any reason that they can't take on any responsibility in the church
Yeah.
uh, beyond that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a difficult thing for sure. I'll be
Yeah.
curious. Maybe it might be worth in the future getting him back in and being like, what has this been like being back in? I certainly know
Yeah.
what my experience was like. And luckily, although I think that there were a couple people, potentially hurt along the way, mine was just young foolishness that had me excommunicated from the church. And so, you know, now being back in, I can definitely see some things where, like, maybe it would be beneficial to reach out with those people, but I don't know that it was they were affected like an adultery or an abuse or
Right.
something like that might
Yeah.
have been. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
And
Uh,
there are lots of things that can get you that can get your membership removed, I guess, as we say now.
sure.
And there's common and there's less common.
Yeah. I want to tease two other future upcoming episodes as well. We talked about the Temple Digger that we're going to do. I'm doing an interview today as we record this, Verlin, about Christian nationalism with a professor at Pepperdine, um,
Oh,
and a doctor from Oxford, a very intelligent.
I am
Can't wait to
so
have this
interested in this
conversation.
topic. I
It's
am
not
so interested.
it's not Mormon specific,
Yeah.
but it definitely is Mormon adjacent. So I'm looking forward to if you have heard that on the news and you go, I feel like I kind of understand that, but don't necessarily. That will be what that episode is about. It will
Mm.
not be your 404 level Christian nationalism. It will be your 101. What is this? Why is this? bad? Where do we get things crossed? Is there a part of
Yeah.
this that's, all that? So that is an upcoming episode. And then also a tease about a crossover episode with Kurt Frankum from This Week in Mormons and Leading Saints. He and I are going to do an episode that comes out this weekend where we will talk about some LDS podcasters who removed their name from the church records, and also talk about the Amazing Race LDS couple and some other things that he called dibs on. So you will not find those in this episode. So
I feel let down, Kurt, but that's all right. You'll pay for it in June.
Oh yeah, you're having him out there.
That's the plan. In fact, I was on an email string with Kurt last night.
I keep looking at my email. I never saw an invitation.
You're totally invited.
Sure.
It's the last weekend
No,
in June.
everyone's invited.
Heavy wedding. We figured you'd be, triple booked as usual.
We figured you'd be busy, so we didn't want to bother to invite you. Perfect.
Hey, you're invited to come stay in the middle of our renovation mess.
Yay! Nope. I've been a part of a couple in a renovation. I want nothing to do with it, even if it's not me at all. The tension is palpable. The last thing I'll say, got invited to an influencer event with the church. That is the main block of the church for their Easter initiative next week. So depending on what comes of that, there may be a special Easter episode of how we can celebrate with that. And been talking with Kerry Muhlestein about how we can do Easter this year after he did those amazing episodes last year. So all to come. Geez, there's so much. Let's take a break and come back and do actual articles of news. Let me take just a moment to tell you all about bestdjinutah.com. That is the website where you can learn all about me. Oh, sure, you probably feel like you know me, but you know me in the cultural hall sense. I have a DJ company, now 6 of us strong, great event hosts, MCs, and DJs that can be able to make whatever event you have coming up absolutely spectacular, and hope you will reach out to us. Now you're thinking, well, wait a minute, Richie, I don't live in Utah. Would you travel? Absolutely, I would travel. Would they travel? Absolutely, they would travel. Whatever your event is, doesn't have to be a wedding or a community event. We can do all sorts of things. I can teach you line dancing. I can dance with you. We can do partner dancing. We can do all kinds of things, but we can't do any of it if you don't hit me up. You can go to bestdjinutah.com. You can fill out the form to get more information or get a quote, and then I will get right back to you. Find out why I'm so busy and why sometimes we don't get episodes of the Cultural Hall. It's all because of bestdjinutah.com. Here in the second half of Articles of News, we do actual articles of news. Hit it, Peter.
You can't lose articles of news.
And away we go. We are talking all things Easter. We're starting off... Was this marching in like a lion, or is this like a lamb, since we're starting with some feel-good stories?
I think it's like a lamb this time.
Okay, a lamb. What was always confusing when we talk about March going in like a lamb and out like a lion, and then religiously we speak about like the lamb and the lion lying down together. I never understood when March lied with itself and what that means, and does March
does
down
it
with
come
April?
in like a lamb and exit like a lion, or in like a lion, exit like a lamb?
I think it can be either. I think it depends. I think it can depend on how it is, right?
Yeah.
Because if it comes in like a lamb and then it goes out like a lion, it means it was a delicate first part and then came out. But if it comes in like a and then it comes out like
Okay. Well,
I don't know.
We're hoping with all the tornadoes and storms we had over the last week here in the South that it came in with a lion. It's going to leave like a lamb.
Yes, please and thank you.
Yes.
Let's share the Easter message from the first presidency.
Sure. To quote them in their message, during this joyful Easter season, we join with faithful followers of the Savior in celebrating the resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ. The resurrection is a gift to all of Heavenly Father's children who have ever lived on this earth. We testify that Jesus Christ gives rest to those who are heavy laden. Matthew 11:28. He knows how to succor his people according to their infirmities. Alma 7:12. Because he took upon himself our pains and sins. He hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, and with his stripes we are healed. Isaiah 53:4-5, and also Handel in the Messiah. Those who exercise faith in him, keep his commandments, and receive the saving and exalting ordinances shall have hope through the atonement of Christ and the power of his resurrection to be raised unto eternal life. Moroni 7:41. We invite all to come unto Jesus, that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly. John 10:10. Binding ourselves to him through making and keeping covenants enriches our lives now and eternally. May you find hope, healing, and happiness as you draw nearer to the Savior of the world this Easter season. And it's signed by Russell M. Nelson, Dallin H. Oakes, and Henry B. Eyring, the First Presidency.
Pretty straight to it.
It is a beautiful message. Simple, succinct, could be the whole entire Easter program right there with an amen and a couple of songs.
Yeah, if we do it right.
Yeah.
Should only be an hour long. Do you know what your ward is doing for Easter Sunday?
I do. The tradition in our building where we have 3 wards is to have all 3 wards gather together for the 1 hour. Each ward will provide 1 musical number and 1 little short message. And that will be the entirety of the program.
What a great thing. I can guarantee you we are overthinking it where we are and not maximizing what it could be, unfortunately. And this isn't a slight at like any sort of leadership or whatever, but I just feel like, and I have thought a lot about this recently because so I'm in Taylorsville, Utah, west side of the Salt Lake Valley. There's lots of members and a lot of like old timers in this area in particular. And I think that like even the idea of us just going for an hour on Sunday is something that we're still sort of wrapping our heads around. And I think that they would benefit from someone like me who wants to do the least amount of work possible on occasion. And not to say that it wouldn't be just a crap ton of work, but like, hey, Taylorsville Steak, we're gonna have 2 meetings because there's like 9 wards, so we couldn't do like a state conference kind of thing. Although maybe we could because maybe people don't attend. I don't know attendance for that stuff, but we're gonna do a 10 and 11:30. So you have the perfect times for church. And then you go, hey, would you guys be willing to have that musical number be in both times? Yes, you bet. That sounds great. Hey, a motivational speaker who can speak well on this. Will you speak well on that? Yes, you bet. Message from a leadership person. All right, I'm in. And really maximize the opportunity for those that feel the call to Christ at Easter to come and have just an incredible meeting. And you get the energy of people being there saying, man, this is exciting. A lot of people being there that I think can energize people towards the gospel as well. If there's a lot of folks there, I don't know. I think that would be my preference, but I have to be careful what I say out loud because then they'll say, well, Christmas will have the same thing and you get to plan it. Good luck.
I am a great fan of the idea that there is beauty in simplicity.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes with all of the extra we put around things, we remove some of the beauty, we remove some of the message and some of the feeling. And so I'm all for simple.
The other thing that we have to make sure that we have is you have to have kids singing and now adults joining as well. Gethsemane. Jesus loves me.
Loves me.
Like, now we have to. It's in the hymn book. There is a whole article about some great Easter hymns that can be added to our celebration this year. The newest Easter specific hymns. I'll go quickly through these. Number 1, Hail the Day That Sees Him Rise. This one, great. Just a quick couple lines from the verses of this song. See, he lifts his hands above, alleluia. See, he shows the Prince of Love, alleluia. Hark, his gracious gifts bestow, blessings on his church below. That's one. This one seems so on the nose. Let's do it. Larry Hiller, who...
I love this one. This verse particularly is amazing.
Published in the April 22 Ensign as Rise Up, Ye Saints, Rejoice. Let Easter anthem rings. Let Easter anthems ring. Some of the lyrics are, lo, how the cross stood bare, how empty lay the tomb, when Easter dawning bright and fair dispelled the pall of gloom. For Jesus vanquished death, and all will be restored when every soul draws living breath through Christ the risen Lord. Incredible. Another one that's great, Were You There? This is, it belongs to the tradition of African-American spiritual songs. And the lyrics are, were you there when he rose up from the dead? Were you there when he rose up from the dead? Sometimes I feel like shouting, glory, glory, glory. Were you there when he rose up from the dead? Come on. We've got these songs and there are others.
I can't wait for the glory, glory, glory.
It just, I hope, if nothing else, as we have ranted about this, I hope that people will go, yeah, It can be a different kind of program this year because of these songs that have added. And for a lot of people, your long timers, your lifers, going and hearing these songs done well or well-ish or well adjacent will draw your attention because you'll go, this is in our hymnal. I had no
Yeah,
idea. I love it. And
I
being
love
able
it
to draw
too.
that and then being able to draw connection to the people that may be visiting for the first time or haven't been in a long time, they can come in and go, oh, okay, something about this is drawing me here. Let's go.
Yep. Yeah, I was in our chapel Monday afternoon. I was running an errand and I noticed that we finally have little folders with all of the new music put in every pew for the first time. It wasn't there Sunday, but it
Huh.
was there Monday. So I'm looking forward to using and hearing and singing those songs.
That's awesome. I have thought about because in the way that we have talked about, and I have to be delicate how I talk about this, but in the way that I make contributions to the church
Hmm.
and finding my way in things that I want to tangibly be able to see, I have
Right.
thought about figuring out a way to print something in a very nice way for the chapel, having it just show up and be there, and then just being like, yeah, you know what? This can be added to, cannot be taken away from, but can be added to in the future. Uh and be able to have it because we should have it.
Wouldn't that be cool to be able to walk into the chapel every week and see that and not tell anyone,
Yes.
right?
Except
That is,
now I've said it out loud on
now
here.
you
So
have.
now
Yeah,
people will
you've given
know.
yourself up. Yeah.
Uh now you wanted some great let's feel good stories. I like this. I don't mind going in this not, you know,
We'll
terrible,
get
terrible,
there.
terrible, take 2 seconds for great stories order. So let's get me to Operation Smile in Lima, Peru.
Yeah, this impressed me because we've got another co-host who's still in Peru. I see pictures posted. He seems to be having a great time and going to some off the beaten track places, which I love and support. In this case, the missionaries of the East Lima Mission are supporting Operation Smile. Operation Smile is this group that helps children that have cleft palates and other challenges and issues with their teeth and mouth. And it's a group of volunteers that comes down and does surgery and therapy and all those kinds of things, which is in and of itself wonderful.
Hmm.
What I think is fabulous about this story is they've enlisted the help of the local missionaries. What a wonderful way for missionaries to serve, to meet people, to provide love and care and sympathy without having an overt preachy message about it,
Agreed.
just doing good in their community and serving the way they all need to serve.
And one step further, and I think that people might have thought that I was joking when I posted this on our Facebook page. If you look at the pictures, there's not a single one of those elders that isn't ear to ear smiling
Yes.
about how awesome this is. There are these little touches that I think that we can make. Sure, we could go in and we can build a hospital, and the church has billions of dollars, and we should have a hospital that blah blah blah. But these little things where we can just take a moment and be able to step into it and literally create smiles for people, incredible.
Imagine this, those elders and sisters get to see these 37 children before, during, and after this whole experience.
Hmm.
What a life-changing event to be able to see that life change for these 37 children, which is really amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
So fantastic work, great work. I'd love to see more and more of that.
I also, you made reference to Taylor Westbrook, old
Two Chain.
Uh, I have looked in every picture of like church news coming out of Peru because there's been a bunch. There was a
Mm.
temple something and some other things as well. This story, another thing, and I keep looking for him to just be there in the picture with all the missionaries, or be there at the dedication of this, or there's a war. I keep just kind of looking for him. He's going to show up in one of them, and we're actually going to try and do an episode once he gets to not in the countryside of Peru. We're going to try and do an episode with him from down there.
I
Just
have a friend who just got back from Peru and she posted like 150 pictures on social media yesterday.
uh-huh.
And I literally went through every one looking for Taylor.
Yes, because you know that he's just gonna show up.
Hopefully so.
This is not in your list of things, but worth kind of teasing that temple ticker episode again. Fairview down in Texas, the McKinley, Texas temple heating up. That
Heating up again.
that
All
is
right.
heating up again. So that is something to
Hmm.
to look forward to us discussing. Those Temple Ticker episodes are all about temples of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So, like we mentioned, Madagascar, and then we didn't go further into it. Just know that it is because we take our time when we do a Temple Ticker episode.
Ticker.
This just came in. This breaking news. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints will soon have new leadership of church hosting. This calling is hosting people, dignitaries from around the world. So this is a calling that you have here in the state of Utah. Gordon H. Smith and Sharon Smith will become the new directors of church hosting. Prior to this assignment, Brother served as an area authority, Area 70 in the North America Central, North America Northeast, and North America Southeast. He served 2 terms as U.S. Senator for Oregon from 1997 to 2009. He chaired the Senate High-Tech Task Force Committee and served on the Senate Finance and Foreign Relations Committees. Most recently, Brother Smith was president and CEO of the National Association of Broadcasters for more than a decade. Brother and Sister Smith have 3 children, 1 foster daughter, and they are succeeding Brother and Sister Lansing, who have served as hosting directors since 2021. So, kind of cool.
That is cool. I'm glad someone does that and needs to do it well. I am glad it's not me called to that position.
Oh, yeah? You wouldn't want to do it?
I would love the networking and the personal connection side of it. The logistics and the minutia of all of the arrangements would drive me nuts.
Oh, that's a fair point. I actually hadn't considered that part of it. But like hanging out with, the prime minister of this and that of the other. Yeah, I'd do that.
Yeah, if I could have a staff that handles all the details, then it'd be fine.
Well, delegate, Verlin. If you could learn to delegate within your calling, you'll be just fine. You get yourself a nice first counselor.
Susan always pushes back, though, whenever I try to do that. So.
Well, no, you don't delegate to your spouse. Other people. Other people. All right, let's get back to your regularly scheduled news. You wanted to take us to Argentina?
Yeah, Argentina, they had a huge severe rainstorm and flooding event here just recently. And the church, as they always do, marshaled resources very quickly, got food supplies, but also got to them 132 mattresses, 125 sets of blankets and sheets given to the local populace in Bahia Blanca, just days after the severe rainstorm struck Bahia Blanca and spread floods through the whole city. So the church stepped in, as they always do. They marshaled people. They have used meeting houses to help house people temporarily, and they're trying to provide service and help people get back on their feet.
Here's what I loved about this. Just days after the severe rainstorm, and you sort of mentioned this, but so it happened March 7th. The article talks about how they mobilized quickly. They met on the 8th of March, so the next day, and stuff was distributed by the 11th of March, 4 days later. And you talk about having like a 72-hour kit of being able to take care of yourself for those 72 hours. That's all you need. And then the church is mobilized in a way that it's like, hey, we're here. Thanks for, we've been trying to figure the best way to get this done. Now we are here. We met the day after. You are not alone. Here is the help and support that we can give. I think that's incredible.
Yeah. And being in an area that gets natural disasters pretty regularly, I'm amazed at the amount of pre-planning that goes on, not only at the ward and stake level, but at the regional and bishop storehouse level. They literally, when a hurricane is coming, they have trucks pre-staged, pre-packed, ready to go. And the minute that the danger is gone, the trucks are on the road heading to where they need to be.
Yeah.
So it's really amazing.
The way that it should be. This story from Ghana, the church funds donation of emergency transportation vehicles in Ghana, and over 250,000 residents in Ghana's poorest regions will benefit from this donation. The church partnered with the Catholic Relief Services and donated 20 modified motor tricycle ambulances handed over to the Ghana National Ambulance Service and Ghana Health Services in the northern region of Ghana. The donation made through the Holistic Opportunities for Positive here's an acronym. The Holistic Opportunities for Positive Engagement in Maternal and Child Health, HOPE MCH, impacts 10 districts in the Upper East, Savannah, Northeast, and Northern regions of Ghana. 250,000 people to be able to do something seemingly so small, though I'm sure that, those ambulatory vehicles, not a small financial investment on our behalf, but man, to be able to impact 250,000 people,
Yeah, think
let's
about
go.
this. They have nothing right now. So someone has an emergency, they fall and break a leg, or they have some kind of tragic injury. Think about how much effort and time goes into getting them to a medical facility. Well, now there are 25 all-terrain vehicles that are meant to handle the local roads or lack thereof and get people to the health care that they need quicker and faster. They're going to save lives. They're going to
Yes.
save lives immediately.
And it's interesting to me, does this seem like, because there are opportunities for the church like this, I wouldn't say exactly like this, but in the States, do you feel like because the church is kind of newish in Africa that that's why there's investment? Is it because the people in Africa seemingly are more receptive? And so I hate saying this sort of phrase, but we get a larger bang for our buck. Ugh, that we engage in this. Like if people were very receptive, not necessarily conversions, but just like receptive to the message of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in the United States when we did things, would we find more of our dollars going to places and doing things like this in the United States? Heck, North Carolina, where the complete cities are blocked off and stuff like that? Or is it because these people are humble enough, because the gospel is new enough that that's where our focus is? Why do we see this kind of stuff there and not here?
I, I, Two things come to mind. The first thing that comes to mind is back to the phrase you used, which you said you hate to say, but in reality, very small and simple investments make huge differences where you have nothing,
Yeah.
right? So 20 all-terrain vehicles is not that big of an expense, really, but it's going to, have a major impact because they're coming from nothing to those
Hmm.
devices. So I think there's some of that, which is we can make somewhat modest investments and have huge impact. That's
Okay.
one. The second is, and this is me stepping out on a ledge, and I'm not trying to offend anyone that's involved in humanitarian efforts in the United States. I think sometimes people that are international have more creative, more aggressive, more think outside the box kind of ideas.
Mm.
And I think if we engendered those more in the States, and maybe enabled our state communication and just serve committees to actually think outside the box and execute outside the box instead of just doing the things that we've done year after year or
Hmm.
decade after decade, we would get some very creative things too. And I've seen a couple of those happen here locally. We had a steak just serve leader who saw that a food bank needed a brand new huge refrigerator, basically the kind of refrigerator that's 18-wheeler truck sized,
Okay.
right? She went to all the different local leaders, said, "Here's what's going to cost. Here's what's going to take. Here's, you know, who would benefit." She kind of put I don't want to call it a business case, but the value case together
Hmm.
and went to local leadership and they sponsored it, took it up the line and got it approved. And the church bought a brand new massive walk-in refrigerator for this food bank. And so I think if we enable people to do that locally and trust them and support them, I think we could do great things like that here too.
Hmm. Okay. I like that. I support what you just said. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay.
Hey, that
It'll
comes
be
along
written.
with the Come Follow Me study this week. It's all about common consent.
Yep. Well, it is by common consent that things are able
Yes,
to move forward. Okay. Well, I know we've got some other stories here for a little bit. Some of those are what Kurt and I are going to do. And then we've got some secret lives of Mormon wives and some of that stuff. So I'm going to skip some of those things. And
perfect.
now we're going to kind of go backward. Well, we'll jump around a bunch. I'll tell you where I want to go with this. I'll take
Where do
this
you want
first
to
one.
go? You are the
Uh,
master of this domain.
Clark Gilbert, previous guest of the Cultural Hall, you can find his episode in with a link in the show notes. Going to be speaking at BYU Provo's graduation and as the commencement speaker. And this got me going down a little bit of a rabbit hole of, isn't it, normally someone else that would do something like this. And as it turns out, at least as far as I could find, it is normally an apostle who will speak at it. He is a 70 who is also the commissioner of education, certainly in the news a bunch because of what some would say is a tightening of um, or an entrenchment within the church as far as some of the guidelines, regulations, things that are going on at BYU. Um, the thing that I think is interesting about this for me, and tell me where you lie on this, like one of the things that I think is unique about commencement is when you graduate, it is someone not from your university or your university sphere that makes that exciting. And I'm thinking about like Oprah Winfrey or Matthew McConaughey or, some of these celebrity people, but also people like Arthur Brooks or Rabbi Lappin or some of these people that are thought leaders, but aren't necessarily the ones that think of the same way that I do at the university. I wonder when we have an apostle speak at BYU, is that the equivalent for us? Are we like, oh man, this is our LDS Oprah Winfrey to have Elder Eyring speak at commencement, and so that's a big enough deal? Or would we be better suited to have someone come in and be like, welcome to BYU. Here are the things that, when you're speaking here, we don't want, you know, there are some guidelines because of who owns the school, etc.
Hmm.
But to me, there seems maybe that's at least the moment that I'm in at this point is it's more of the same, and maybe they would be benefiting from a commencement speech from someone else or somewhere else, or maybe not.
Yeah, I'm thinking along the same lines you are. The first thing that struck me, and Elder Gilbert is wonderful. He has a huge responsibility. He's executing that to the best of his ability. He's doing that under the guidance and direction of the board of directors and the quorum of the 12. But this is a little like having it seems easy. It's like,
Mhm.
well, we could get a member of the quorum of the 12. We could get a special guest speaker. Why don't we just get Elder Gilbert? He's available,
Right. Yeah,
you
maybe
know,
that was my feeling.
and so there's a little bit of that. And I'm sure he'll give a great message,
Sure.
but it's not. Yes, at BYU, there are devotionals every week, and there are guest speakers that are both from the church and those from outside the church. But it's a unique opportunity at commencement to leave a final impression. And having a member of the Quorum of the 12 there to do that is impactful, not only for the students that are graduating, but there are hundreds and thousands of family members that are there for that ceremony.
Sure.
The Marriott Center is packed when that happens. What a great opportunity to hear from one of the Lord's anointed to give that kind of charge of moving forward in your life and things you should think about and do and consider as you take your education out into the world.
But to me, I think of like High Council Sunday, like let's have a junior companion speaker. That person is of the world, and then let's have an apostle or like an Elder Gilbert, right? Like
Oh,
where it's
that would be
like
great. Yeah,
Brandon
that would be
Flowers, he'll do
wonderful.
the incorporation of your going into the world, and then Elder Holland will seal it with the apostolic that like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
Ed
yeah.
Catmull from Pixar.
Someone of great success that's balanced the success of the world with being a good person as
Yes,
well.
yes,
Right? And
and
that
then
could be
and
a
then
member of the church, and it doesn't have to be a member of the church.
right. I
Um,
I mean, certainly in the day and age, it probably would be a member of the church, but I almost sort of like the idea of having it be a member of the church. Gladys
yeah.
Knight and Elder
Ryan
Eyring.
Smith
Yes,
or Elder Ira or Mitt Romney and someone
yes,
else
yes.
or the journalist in Washington D.C.
Jane.
No, the one
No.
who did the Romney book.
Oh, yeah. The old guy that I can't remember his name right now. Gosh.
I'm so sorry.
No, we know who it is. That
Coppins,
writes for the Atlantic.
Coppins.
McKay Coppins. There it is.
Yeah. So
Um,
yeah,
yeah, McKay
having
Coppins.
someone of great success showing you that you can be a great person, contribute, be successful in your career, and still uphold the standards of the
Yeah.
Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Lindsay Sterling.
Oh, that would be awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Voicemail. No, okay, we're done. Uh okay. And then why don't we go to the heretic story just real quick. There's not a whole lot to this. I know that that's changing up the order on you quite a bit.
No, that's
One,
all right.
If you have not yet seen Heretic, you've seen it,
Oh
Verlin.
yeah. Yeah, I have.
Uh,
I need to watch it again.
you can get it streaming now. I
Yeah,
saw
you
it
can.
pop up as a streaming option, and this was sort of a. I was surprised to see it in a headline again, about the movie, and I'm sure it's just because it's like, hey guys, you can stream this now.
It's here again. Yeah, yeah. So I would say for people that have not seen it, if you enjoy horror of any kind, you need to see it.
Hmm.
If you don't enjoy horror, and if you don't enjoy all the things that come with horror, you may not enjoy it. So fair warning. It's worth seeing, but it's horror.
But the first 15 minutes are not real life. It's
They
not
are
like it's
fabulous.
yes.
They are
I
the first 15 minutes. People keep talking about how awkward those scenes were. They're trying to pack a year and a half worth of missionary experience into 15 minutes so you get where the mindset of these missionaries are. And I think it's totally fine.
and to people who are like, well, missionaries don't have those kind of conversations because one of them talks about viewing pornography, right? Yes, they do. Yes,
Yes,
they
they
do.
do.
Maybe you did not. Maybe you didn't. I'll give you that benefit of the doubt. Maybe you did not. Those conversations are occurring.
Oh, I had several companions where we talked about things you would never imagine missionaries talking about in all different ways, shapes, and forms. And yes, I'm calling you out, Ed Moss.
Elder Moss, how dare you?
He was awesome. But we talked about everything under the sun.
I mean, let me just correct you on something real quick. He was Mossum.
He was awesome. You're right.
Mossum.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, so yeah,
So
there.
what I liked here was the directors have actually given some additional context for those that, I mean, spoiler alert for those that have not seen the movie, but for those that have, you remember the last
Oh
scene.
no, don't tell him about the last scene. Just allude to it.
So
The
I'm alluding
ending.
to the last scene,
Okay,
and
yeah.
what they seem to be supporting is that there is no real answer to the last scene.
Which is what makes it so magnificent.
That's what's awesome. That's what holds it in your brain.
Mhm.
If they had resolved that last scene in a feel good, everyone went on to live, happy lives, I wouldn't remember the movie the same way.
In the same way that if they would have resolved it in a feel bad, everyone felt bad, it's destitute,
Yeah.
it's whatever. My wife and I walked away from that movie and felt so different about the ending that we never, and she loves this about this movie in particular, but other times we've had this opportunity. She loves the fact that we had a conversation about what we viewed and that we disagreed.
Yeah. No,
Great.
what a great way to end the movie. Yeah.
So you can read more about their comments about it. That link will be in the show notes. This from the Babylon Bee. I just think it's so hilarious. We posted
This
this.
is so funny.
We posted this on our Facebook page, and people are like, "Why would you need to smash someone else's faith or whatever?" First of all, it's satirical. Second of
It's
all,
from the Babylon Bee. Come on.
yes, yes. Elder Kupke, that's a missionary I served with, is the guy who actually commented about that. He said, "You know what? I know he runs a why does he do stuff like this?" And it's just funny, and it's funny in lots of ways. The Babylon Bee. Um, I
But they
hate that
got this so on the nose with Mormon culture and Mormon everything.
uh, but it's even just the very details of these things that I think is so great.
Yeah.
Headline is Mormon wife designs future planet on Pinterest. Out of Boise, Idaho, local Mormon wife and mother of two, Hadley Christensen, and Hadley spelled Hadleigh, which several people noted too, um, as being some of the charm of the article,
Hmm.
spent a lazy Sunday afternoon using Pinterest to design her future planet. Short on ideas to decorate an entire planet herself, Christensen took to Pinterest to begin pinning ideas for how to best lay out and furnish an entire globe. Quote, this would look cute on my planet, said Christensen, clicking on a picture of a small mountain range. Quote, I don't want any volcanoes, though. Yuck. Oh, look at this beach. Definitely have to have that. What kind of animals do I want? So many decisions, end quote. Christensen found several Pinterest boards from other LDS women who gathered hundreds of images to provide inspiration for the planet designing process. Quote, their boards have such adorable names like Cosmos, Concepts, and Wonders of My World, said Christensen. Their little future planets are so precious looking. Ugh, these ladies are so far ahead of me. It's really intimidating. At publishing time, Christensen's husband had asked if she could please stop designing her future cosmological home and change the baby's diaper. It is so very funny.
This is perfect satire.
But what I also love about it too, and I'm going to go down this rabbit hole a little bit. There
Yeah.
was someone that commented, and then several people have commented about it since, that we don't really talk about getting our own planet anymore.
Was that a thing?
Oh yeah.
So I don't remember ever being told I got my own planet. I remember being told, as man is, God once was, as God is, man may become.
And I
And
think
knowing that I would have mansions on high, but I don't ever remember you get a planet near Kolob along with Heavenly Father discussion.
well, so and this is going to be a further discussion. I just don't know who to have this discussion with yet. So contact theculturalhall.com. But uh my suspicion would be that it's just someone who sort of walked it out, who said, well, if God has a planet, and I'm going to
Yeah,
begat spiritual children and I'm to become like God, and at some point it would stand to reason that then at some point I get a planet and be able to do it. I want to say in the recesses of my mind that Neil A. Maxwell was looking at a flower one time, and someone said, you spend hours looking at these flowers, and he said, oh, that's because I've got to learn how I'm going to create them one day, or something
right,
like that, right?
right.
So that is where I think that it comes from. I don't know where it specifically comes from.
I'm thinking maybe one time a Sunday school teacher said, hey guys, you could even have, if you wanted, you could have your own planet. Or maybe a seminary teacher somewhere said that, and it just picked up and went viral in the old-fashioned world, and became a thing. Because
But
from the comments on Facebook, it sounded like lots of people have heard this preached, even from the pulpit in lessons, those kinds of things.
so according to questioninglds.com, which I don't know
Hmm.
about that. Um, it says the church says it's a myth. On the LDS website, there is a frequently asked questions article which explains that the idea that that faithful LDS members get their own planet is a myth. It is not based on the doctrine of the church, and they claim that they do not and have never purported to understand the afterlife. So, but it's got to be cultural enough,
Oh, yeah.
because within the Book of Mormon, the musical, for it to be included in the I believe that God lives on a planet named Kolob, and I believe that I can get my own planet as well. Like, it has
Right.
to be mainstream enough within our culture. That being the makers of South Park and Book of Mormon musical, if it is not embedded in our culture, they are not
Yeah.
bringing up a random thing because people would go, nope, not true, and dismiss it. They know it has to be.
But most people hear that and say, he doesn't live on Kolob. He lives near Kolob, to be accurate, so I don't
Well,
have to worry about
yeah, okay. We'll lump it in with a song lyric, I guess. Anyway, I found that article to be interesting, and
it.
to
Great.
start off just this most amazing rabbit hole discovery that I'm going to try and find where that exactly comes from, why we started believing it, when we, kind of put it away, and so look forward to
Yeah.
that as a future thing. All
I'm
right.
wondering if the guys from Church History Matters would have a context on that.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I'll bet they
Uh,
would.
I will ask them. That'll be a
Yeah.
great place to start. Some may not even want to touch it. Let's do the farmland and the Morehouse College, and then let's call it a day. How's that sound?
Sounds good. I'll jump on the farmland one. So we've
Done.
talked a lot about farmland purchases in Florida, in Nebraska, in other places around the United States. Well, fair warning, uh, citizens of Australia, the church has just bought a huge amount of property in Australia. And as they refer to it, they call it, has added a large scale dry land cropping operation in the renowned Golden Triangle region of northern New South Wales. And they talk about this aggregation, and what it appears to be is three huge family farms and ranches that have been pulled together into one huge sale. And when we say huge, we're talking about the Marlow property, which was 22 or 2,204 hectares, and another 2,080 hectares. The Kirawa property, which is 2,269 plus another 2,049 hectares, and the Calarasi property altogether totaled somewhere around 2,500 hectares.
Hmm.
So we're talking about thousands and thousands of acres of ranch land, a lot of it that comes with water rights, with irrigation, and it looks like and sounds like kind of the classical United States prairie kind of farmland, wheat, corn, cattle kind of property.
It's pretty amazing to see the church's investment on all continents and in all places, and it's just significant to note that's a lot of money,
Yeah.
a lot of land, and that it's happening in Australia. That reminds me, I think I've spoken, but you would know. Have we spoken about the Should I Spit podcast?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yep.
Three new episodes came out earlier this week on that as it continues. If you are not, it's on the Listener Network, which is LISTNR, no E's in it because they're hip and cool because they don't have E's in their listener. Um, it's Should I Spit? It's season 5, I think, of this thing, and it's all about the DNA research that Family Search and Ancestry does
Yeah.
and how that impacted one gentleman who is a member of the church, and it's fascinating. It's not over yet. So if you're one
Yeah.
that likes to wait until it's all out, go subscribe and then wait for it to finish so you can just binge it in one sitting. But it is a fascinating thing. And that sort of takes place because of a woman from Australia. So that's the connection in my brain.
Well, in my brain, my connection to Australia is I think I've spent now a total of 8 weeks in Australia on business,
Okay.
Including over Thanksgiving one year. And I could absolutely live in Australia. Send me to Melbourne, Australia any day. I am totally comfortable, love it. Great, wonderful people, wonderful place. Everything you could ever imagine you'd need is there.
You know, you and Sister Youd can pay to go on a mission to
We
Australia.
can, absolutely.
Do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Make
That
it a
would be a
goal.
good
Do
one.
it.
That would
Do
be a
it.
good one.
Do it, Verlin.
I'm not going to do that one this year. Too much to add to this
No,
year.
listen, you can't drive your truck. You wouldn't want to get
This
your
is true.
you wouldn't want to
Can
get
I
your
take
truck
my
up.
truck with me to Australia?
Well, you can. It's super expensive, I would imagine.
Yeah.
This last story, I'll summarize it, but Lawrence Carter, who is from Morehouse College, a historically black college, he was the one that awarded President Russell M. Nelson the inaugural Gandhi Nelson Mandela Peace Prize back in 2023 that made the news. He's the founding dean of the Martin Luther King Jr. International Chapel at Morehouse. That's where Martin Luther King received his degree. So that's the connection on all this. He recently spoke at BYU, said a lot of great things. It's a great talk that you can find a link to in the show notes. You can watch actually the whole thing. But this is two parts of what he said that I want to leave this episode with. He said, quote, "We need to start understanding that moral worth is determined less by individual, isolated, ethical acts than by long-term committed relationships." And then further went on to say, "You cannot have what you are not willing to be. You can't preach and lecture about peace and be effective unless you show up as peace." And I just thought that was a very, very pertinent point. One of the things he also says is we need a Department of Peace, not a Department of Defense. Whether that is a literal suggestion of let's have a Department of Peace as opposed to a Department of Defense, or just a theological one. I like it either way. But that talk from Lawrence Carter.
I loved his points. I loved the B comment. As I read this, it came across to me as very Martin Luther King Jr. like.
Yes.
In the way he phrased things in ways that were understandable, but with very lofty ambitions, which is what we need right now. We need lofty ambitions to go after and make the world a better place.
Something to aspire to.
Yes.
Something that we can change and be about the change of, as opposed to, well, we don't like that guy.
That's right.
And trust me,
right.
I don't like that guy. So don't get me wrong as far as that goes, but we need to be something more than, well, we hate that. We should not do that because we hate that. That's the thing. This is what we want the world to be like.
I think his comments are going to change the way I engage on social media around the things I don't like.
Man, good for you.
I hope so.
I hope to follow your example, but you're going to have to show me how to do it.
I hope to follow my example too.
Hope I can actually be that example. Well, we hope that this episode has nourished and strengthened your body.
And if you weren't healthy enough to listen this week, you'll be healthy enough to listen next week.
And that when the time comes, you'll be able to travel home in safety. In the meantime, Chris at Alpine Lakes Travel, Debbie Wanless, Chocolate Cake Bites Podcast, and the Tiger, with a U, will be saving a seat for you
on the back row of the Cultural Hall.
Save me a seat, it's sure to be neat on the back row. We really gotta go on the Cultural Hall show.